Outdoor hospitality state associations, are they the best low investment, high yield opportunity? And why do they matter? I'm here this morning with special guest Randy Hendrickson to share one thing about experiential outdoor hospitality. Good morning, Randy.
And good morning to you, Michelle Oliver.
So, why do these state associations matter so much?
Boy, do they matter. They matter at a very appreciable degree. And it's interesting because having been around the business for about 30 years and having served on boards for about 18 years, I have somewhat of an understanding of how hard these state associations work, and they work so incredibly hard for their members. I don't think a lot of resorts, even current members, really understand what goes on behind the scenes and the board work that happens and the executive director's role in bringing forth information that fundamentally will and can alter your destiny. It's not overstating it. It's not hyperbole to say that because here's the real deal. You've experienced this and I've experienced this and many of us have. You're running your business and it's the day-to-day stuff. It's this has to
Mhm.
happen today. I've got to do this. Meanwhile, fluttering around over here on some legislator's desk is a piece of legislation that may make you really bad, really uncomfortable, bad results, right? Something that could affect, I mean, anything from occupancy laws, tenant laws, zoning, I mean, zoning, it could be any myriad of things. And unless somebody's really watching that stuff for you and being your advocate, these things can hurt you. So it's the stuff that you don't see that's behind the scenes. That's where the state associations do their best work. Now, many years ago, one of the main things that was talked about as a member benefit was that the associations could help market your property. Well, that was a long time ago. These days, although it's still a valuable feature of a state association, the world has changed. Google's right. I mean, all the different
Mhm.
online channels are so ubiquitous now that that's not the main reason that people kind of think about doing this. But when it comes down to somebody else, please bird dog this stuff and let me know what I should pay attention to. I personally think that's the highest and best form of what a state association does. It's the advocacy for your interests. I mean, with your background, Michelle, I mean, you've been through that, right? You've been behind the front desk and doing the stuff that needs to happen. But isn't it great to think you've got somebody watching your back saying, "Hey, Michelle, this is happening. You want to pay attention?"
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand the advocacy part. I think for every small business owner in any business, having somebody that has your back and has that kind of eagle bird's eye view of what's going on, there's no way you can be aware of all of that. So I really see the value in that for sure. I have a question for you though.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
know that as whether it's an RV resort or a hotel or a campground or any kind of business, honestly, indoor hospitality, outdoor hospitality, you're overwhelmed with everything involved in the operations already, as to your point. So typically, someone won't make an investment in something only because they don't see the value of it, right? So you're referring to this as the low investment, high yield opportunity for an operator. What else are they getting out of this? Like
Mm.
many of them are going to think there's nothing wrong. Like I've made it this far, why should I worry about these unknowns? What else are they getting? What's the value?
Protection of capital. And by that, I mean there's in recent years in particular, and certainly ubiquitous today, are the people that have a piece of land somewhere and they want to build their dream property, their RV resort, their glamping resort, whatever that might be. And there's a tendency to overlook the things that can literally make or break your property. And sometimes you can
Mhm.
spend a lot of money and find out too far down the road, oops, I can't do that. So in that regard, what isn't really commonly understood, it's a great question, is your state association can give you some pretty sage advice about what makes sense in what jurisdictions within the state. There may be agencies that you've never heard of and are not aware of that say, well, we have to have a step in the approval process before you can get to this point. And unless you're intimately involved and speak the language and know the governing agencies in any state, you might miss that. So when I'm talking about one of the best investments you'll ever make, you're talking about investment that's a few $100 a year. Right. And when you
Oh,
think about the
wow.
expenses of your property and what you spend
Yeah,
all your money on, this is like a knowledge insurance policy.
nothing.
It's a knowledge bank. It's and for many states they have free legal resources where you can ask about tenant eviction laws. There's your attorney. How much would that attorney cost you?
Oh
Some
my gosh.
2 hours on the phone with an attorney in one year, in many cases, is going to wipe out what you would have paid for the free advice from somebody who's campground specific, So
Honestly, I cannot imagine. No wonder you're saying that this is the lowest investment, highest yield. I mean,
oh
it's
yeah,
almost like having a fractional team of professionals,
that's
you
right.
know, at your back, and everybody needs that. And often you just don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you need until it's kind of too late. So, does everyone know about these associations, or do you think when people come in, they're starting a new development, maybe they're coming from hotel into outdoor hospitality and they don't even know these associations exist?
It's the largest thing that associations face, quite honestly. And then, I mean, just to your previous point, if you said, "Gee, I'd like to have an attorney who knows my park laws and a lobbyist on the Hill chasing down
Wow.
legislation," what would that take you to manage that process, and what would you spend
Oh my God.
for a few $100? You're a phone call away. My goodness. So, but to your excuse me, to your question though. I think would be a fair assessment, and I think most state associations would agree that their biggest challenge has been articulating exactly this value proposition. So, for example,
Mm,
if you've been in the industry for a while, you're aware of state associations, but you still may not know the value, right? Even so, yeah, I've heard of this or that state association. I don't really know what they do. Maybe that's the association not doing a good enough job of trying to explain what they're able to do. Maybe it's frequency of educational materials. It's all education, right? But the other thing is for somebody new to the industry, just coming into it, when you're Googling this and searching that and looking for information, you may not find your state association's website during your research. So you may not know they
mm,
exist. So I think ultimately I think what happens is, and again, saying this based on some experience, that when you have the opportunity to speak to the property owner, current or proposed property owner, and really articulate the value of the legal, the legislative, the advocacy, it becomes a very instant thing. They completely understand it. But
yeah.
to your point, you don't know what you don't know until it's in front of you. You don't know the option even exists, sometimes till it's too late.
Right. Well, honestly, that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
That's why we come every Monday and just share one thing that really would be valuable for everyone. And I did, as you mentioned earlier, a short segment with Diana Kelly
Yeah.
yesterday, a couple
Yeah.
days ago. And so I can link that in the description here. I think everybody can learn even more and reach out to her if you're in California, and reach out to Randy and he'll direct you. You've served on the board of many of these associations, isn't that correct?
Yeah. Between California and Arizona, 18 years of board work. That's correct.
Yeah, so reach out to Randy and he will direct you and give you some insight into the value and connect you with the right people.
Be more than happy to. I would love to visit with anybody who'd like to understand some of the nuances. I can't speak for any association, but if you'd like some
Mhm.
overview from somebody who's been in the trenches, owned properties, managed properties, served on boards about what I've seen firsthand as their benefit, I can talk with you all day about that and get you connected to the right people. Support your state associations. It's such an investment in the industry, and it's also covering your backside. Nothing wrong with that.
And we will end on that very wise note.